Hello and welcome to this video from the Checkmate series. In this video I'm going to show you how to give checkmate with one rook. It's harder than with a queen because your queen can force the enemy king around the board by herself, but the rook can't. So how are we going to win this game? Well, in this video I'm going to show you two ways to win this game. I'm not interested in teaching you the quickest way to win. I want to show you something you can remember. After I've shown you the two methods, I'm going to show you two tricks you can use and two stalemate positions you'll need to avoid. The first way to win is to pick an edge, and to drive the enemy king towards this edge. This is the position you are aiming for. The rook gives check along the 8th rank, and your king stops the enemy king moving on to the 7th rank. So it's checkmate. But how do we get to here from here? Well, we do it one rank at a time. This looks like the checkmate position, but it's not quite checkmate because the king can move on to the 6th rank. And the method is to move the king back towards the edge one step at a time until eventually the enemy king is forced onto the edge of the board where you can give checkmate. So let's go back to the starting position and see how this works. The first part of the plan is to use the rook to block the king, stopping the king moving away from the edge you have chosen. You must not let your opponent take your rook. You won't be able to win without it. If your king is close enough, you can use it to defend the rook. But here the king is too far away, so we move the rook to safety, still stopping the king moving away from the edge you have chosen. Now we bring the king up, but try not to move opposite the enemy king, because we want to force the enemy king to move opposite ours. So don't move here, and don't move diagonally opposite either, because you want the enemy king to move opposite you. Eventually the enemy king has to move opposite our king. And now we can use the rook to drive the king back. Now the king has to move back, closer to the edge. And so we can advance our king, but not opposite the enemy king. Black will try not to move opposite your king. Don't let your opponent take your rook. Remember, don't move your king opposite the enemy king, just waste a move with your rook. The enemy king must move closer to the edge of the board or opposite our king. And now we can use the rook to drive the king back again. Now the king has to move back again, closer to the edge. And off we go again. Now we need to waste a move again. And now the enemy king must move to the edge of the board, or opposite our king. This way is very slow. 34 moves is more than twice the number of moves you need to give checkmate, but this way is quite easy to remember. Well, let's see if we can do better. Another way to win is to pick a corner, and to use your king and rook to force the enemy king towards the corner. Let's watch. White will be keeping the king and the rook close together. The white rook creates a barrier that the black king can't get past, as long as the white king defends it. With the white king blocking the rook, the e8 square is unguarded, but the black king is too far away to take advantage. Much quicker. Pick a corner and stick to it. Right, before we finish, as promised, I want to show you 2 tricks you can use and 2 stalemate positions you must avoid. First, the yo-yo trick. If the enemy king attacks your rook, you could defend it, but better is to move your rook away and back like a yo-yo. And now the enemy king must move closer to the edge of the board. The second trick is the U trick. Let's watch how this works. And now the enemy king must move closer to the edge of the board. Okay, so 2 useful tricks for you to have in your toolbox. But let's look now at 2 stalemate positions you need to avoid. Remember these 2 positions and avoid them.